Good morning, 10-minute book talk, and welcome. I'm Rachel Linden. I get to be your host this morning, and I'm joined by my lovely co-hostesses, Marie Bostwick and Katherine Reay. Give a little wave, ladies. And today we get the distinct pleasure of having one of our favorite guests, Kristy Woodson Harvey, with us. Kristy, and we get to talk about her fabulous summer release, The Summer of Songbirds. And actually, Katherine and I were arguing over who was going to get to
in the most friendly way.
in like an arm wrestle across
It wasn't friendly. Blood was drawn. It was ugly.
No.
Hair was pulled out.
Never do that.
Listen to that.
But I won.
Yeah.
I won the privilege of it, and I'm so excited because I have, there are just certain authors that you see a new release and you're like, absolutely, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what the title is, just absolutely. And Kristy is that for me. I genuinely just love reading her books. It's like opening a box of chocolates. You're just sort of like, oh, and now something yummy is coming. And then when she showed this gorgeous cover and the beautiful title, I was like, sold. I don't even need to read what it's about, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So Kristy, welcome. I'm going to stop gushing and I want you to tell us about your beautiful book.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you all so much for having me. And I was the luckiest because I got early reads of all of your new books this year, and they were all amazing. So
yes,
I'm sure that everyone out there has already read them, but if you haven't, oh my goodness, you must. Okay, so quickly, because we only have 10 minutes and you know how much I talk. The Summer of Songbirds is a story about three best friends who met at summer camp when they were little girls, and they find out that their beloved Holly Springs is in danger of closing, and they decide that they are going to come back together and try to save it. And so these three women have been doing each other's hard things, as they call them in the book, since they were little girls at Holly Springs. And this is just one more of those hard things. But at the same time, Daphne, one of the protagonists, discovers that her best friend Lanier's fiance has done something illegal, and she has to decide whether she's going to tell her and probably get disbarred, or if she is going to let her marry this man, not knowing this big thing about him. But Lanier has a secret too, and when that secret comes to light, it changes everything. So this is my love letter to the people and places that make us who we are during that really magical time in our lives where everything just feels like it's out there waiting for us.
Yeah, there's so much going on in this book, and I loved the opening thing with the letters that like near the front, doing each other's hard things. I want that friend. Can I sign?
Yeah.
Can I sign up for that friendship?
We can do each other's hard things.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, then we got that worked out. But anyway, so just love this book, Kristy. But I hear there was interesting inspiration in this, and I think it involved getting lost on sailboats. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to write a book about summer camp. This was actually during the summer of 2020, believe it or not. It was a long time ago. And I just wanted to write a book that was like outdoors, and after we'd all been cooped up for months and months and months. And so my family went to a family camp in North Carolina, which was so fun. And my best friend and I ventured out on a sailboat the very first minute that we got there. She's like a super expert sailor, and everyone at the camp knows her. So they sent us out with no radio and no cell phones and nothing. And we got about 30 minutes away from camp, and the wind just died, and we were stuck. And we were like, oh, please, someone noticed that we're gone and come rescue us. But while we were there, I told her I was going to write a book about camp. And she was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell you my best camp story. And evidently, when she was a teenager, she was sailing alone, and a big water spout came up out of nowhere. She had to abandon her boat. The boat was like crushed on the shore, but the super hot sailing instructor saw her and rescued her. So it was it's like camp legend. Yeah. And so I was like, well, can I use that in my book? And she was like, yeah. So I'm telling you. And so it was kind of like the little spark of inspiration for the whole like Lanier Rich storyline.
Love it. Love it.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the three characters who have POVs, and it's not the three best friends.
Right.
But it's so interesting, and I love that you did that. Fabulous choice. Tell us a little bit about that and how you constructed who had a voice, and did you run them side by side? Did you write them intertwined? It's not an easy feat, and you do it seamlessly. It's beautiful.
So nice. Well, thank you. Yeah. So I had promised myself that I was only going to have 2 POVs in this book because I have gotten unwieldy with them. Like The Wedding Veil had 4, Under the Southern Sky had 5. And I was like, Kristy, no, tighten up. You can have 2 POVs. So I knew that I had to have Lanier and Daphne just because I needed that push-pull between them. I needed them to have secrets from each other that they didn't know about. And, you know, as the reader, you had to have their 2 points of view. You had to be mad at Lanier, Daphne's story didn't work, you know, all those things. So I knew right away that those were the 2. And it was hard for me originally to not have Mary Stuart because I thought she was an interesting character and actually someone that I would love to come back to at some point. But when I started getting down to like the nitty gritty of why this camp was falling apart, I knew I had to have Aunt June in there because otherwise you were getting told a lot of information as the reader. And I just don't love that. Like, I don't love it when characters are having these conversations that are clearly for the benefit of the reader. That was just not something that
Exactly.
Yeah. Y'all know what I mean. Y'all know.
Those are really annoying.
They're really annoying. And so I was like, okay, I got to have Aunt June because we need to know from her POV how she got to this place, how she bought this camp, why the camp is falling apart, what she's tried to do to save it. Because obviously you're not going to own a summer camp for 25 years and then just be like, oh, well, it was the pandemic. It was hard. We're going to close. So I needed to see all of that from her point of view. Now I will tell you, June had a lot more story originally in this book. And I ended up thinning some of it because, as Marie said, there's a lot going on in this book.
A lot of complexity.
All good. All good.
I love you.
So it just ended up being like a little bit too much. So again, June's another character that I would love to kind of, there was a lot more about her life and her love life and her relationship with her sister, which is really complicated. So there was a lot more to do with her, I felt like, but I think she gave us what we needed in this story.
Well, I love it.
Maybe there's a bonus novella in there somewhere.
Right.
Right? Could be.
That's a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
Just to pop it in your mind, Kristy. So this, I love books that are about how our histories shape our identities. I especially love books about the power of friendship, particularly female friendship. And this book is just chock full of that. And so I'm curious, when you were writing this with the reader in mind, what were you hoping people were walking away with?
So, just because of when I was writing it and all of that, I really just wanted people to walk away with that feeling of just the expansiveness of childhood and that moment where you just feel like the world is out there waiting for you and everything is possible. And I wanted to feel that at that particular moment when I think we all felt really kind of scared and boxed in and like we didn't know what was coming next. Our movement was restricted in like the most literal type of way. And I just wanted that feeling of like just being a child and having no worries. And I wanted people to kind of walk away with that. And I've said this a lot, but I don't think, I don't think, and I do hope that you didn't have to go to summer camp to kind of relate to this story. And that wasn't really my intention. I didn't want people to necessarily look back and think like, oh, my time at camp, because obviously everyone didn't go to camp. If you did, I hope it hit you. I hope it hit your heart in a special way. But if you didn't, I still hope that it reminded you of just that time in your life where everything was a possibility and you were just on the cusp of your real life about to begin.
I love it. Well, I did not get to go to camp, but I felt like I got to go to camp when I was like, oh, this is delightful. I don't want to leave camp. I should have gone to camp earlier, but it's not too late because now apparently they're family camp. So that's
not too late. You can go now.
We talked to Susan Wiggs recently and she was talking about, she went to surf camp as an adult. So possibilities are endless. I know.
Susan is just like so much cooler than I am.
We were saying that to amongst ourselves
and the rest of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
years ago, we went to family sailing camp. So you could do that.
Cool.
So
yeah.
Together on a
and
boat.
by the end of the week, every single one of us were certified to sail like an up to 26-foot boat, even our 9-year-old.
Okay, that's amazing. I want to live on an island. I want to take my family to sailing camp.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
back to this beautiful book. It is fall, but your summer does not have to end, because you can go have the Summer of Songbirds and feel like you're back at camp, or at camp for the first time in my case. It's a wonderful book. Pick it up. It is full of family. It is full of friendship. It is full of heart, love, all the good things. So Kristy, thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to ask you the last question we ask all of our guests, which is, what is bringing you joy today?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so you guys, this should be a short answer. I played tennis today for the first time in 6 months. I have had 2 calf injuries. I played tennis my whole life, never had an injury. I had 2 calf injuries within like 6 months, like bad ones. And so I played today for the first time. I wore my hideous like leg compression things, did not get hurt, was totally fine. And that is bringing me a lot of joy because I love to play tennis.
Congratulations. Well, we're so glad you joined us today, Kristy Woodson Harvey. And you, our readers and our listeners, we're so glad, and our viewers, we're glad that you joined us. Pick up this wonderful book and join us next week for more 10-minute book talk fun. We'll see you next week.
You are the best.
Bye.
Thanks, ladies.